The third flight is coming. Starship launch aftermath. No repairs needed. SpaceX brings second tower to Starbase. The first New Glenn launch will target Mars. Hey everyone, I'm TJ and welcome to What About It. Felix is a little under the weather today, so I'm stepping in his shoes, but don't worry, he'll be back soon. Let's go. Starship updates. Welcome back to Starbase. Despite the successful liftoff of humanity's most powerful rocket just a week ago, SpaceX shows no signs of slowing down, and that's a very good thing. In a recent update on their website, the company confirmed that all 33 Raptor engines performed flawlessly during ascent. However, the vehicle later exploded after completing a successful stage separation. The language used in SpaceX's statement is quite interesting. According to the company, the Super Heavy experienced a rapid and scheduled disassembly, or RUD, but there was no explicit mention of the flight termination system being used. In contrast, a statement about the second stage clearly indicates that it analyzed its performance data and decided to trigger the FTS. This difference could suggest two possibilities. Either the wording is just a bit awkward, or the booster indeed exploded on its own without FTS intervention. While the latter seems unlikely looking at the footage, we cannot completely rule it out until SpaceX ends its investigation and provides more details. It's also important to highlight that contrary to some media reports, the booster performed exceptionally well. During a normal rocket launch, the booster's job is done once it propels the vehicle to a certain altitude, after which it's discarded into the ocean. In SpaceX's case, similar to the Falcon 9, the Super Heavy booster completed its primary objective almost perfectly, and a successful recovery would have been considered a cherry on top. Additionally, SpaceX released a plethora of videos and photos from the launch. If the limited footage from the first flight left you wanting more, this time the media team at SpaceX very much exceeded everybody's expectations. They not only released high-quality images from Starship separation, but also a captivating video showcasing the gimbaling of the Raptor center engines after ignition. However, perhaps the most striking footage is the slow-motion video of Starship's liftoff, which brilliantly shows the phenomenon known as Mach diamonds or shock diamonds. Mach diamonds are a thing found in engines that expel exhaust at supersonic speed, such as a rocket or jet engines. When a rocket engine is fired, it generates a series of pressure waves in the exhaust flow. These waves alternatively compress and expand the exhaust gases. The compressed gas heats up and emits a brighter glow, while the expanded gas cools down and its glow is not as bright. This process of compression, heating, expansion, and cooling creates the stunning diamond patterns. To understand this better, think of throwing a stone into water. The stone creates ripples that travel outward in circles, similar to the pressure waves produced by an engine. If a second stone is thrown nearby, the ripples from both interact. When waves collide, they either amplify, similar to compression, or cancel each other out, similar to expansion. The pattern resulting from these interactions is the analogy to a Mach diamond. While the comparison here isn't really perfect, it hopefully helps you better understand the basic principle around this phenomenon. In the SpaceX slow motion footage, each Raptor engine produces its own set of Mach diamonds. However, the waves from these engines interact to create what looks like a single massive 9-diameter meter Mach diamond. This is both beautiful and awe-inspiring. It blows my mind to think that physics can create such breathtaking patterns. And the outstanding footage doesn't end there, as SpaceX published a 360-degree camera video of the liftoff on their YouTube channel. With it in a simple VR headset, you can watch the launch as if it were right next to the rocket. Pretty cool, right? Although, in real life, you don't want to be standing there, because rest in peace, your eardrums. Two aspects of this video grabbed our attention. First, it captures the retraction of the ship's quick disconnect arm. It only detaches from the rocket after the engines have ignited. Then, a protective cover swings into place to shield the fuel lines from debris, followed by the arm moving to the right. The aftermath suggests that this retraction was slower than ideal, so we'll likely see some changes in the sequence in the future. Another interesting thing to spot in the video is the condition of the launch table during liftoff. The footage shows one side of the launch deck glowing red hot just after Starship's departure. We conducted a flyover just a day after the launch, which seems to confirm that the metal plates on this side are thinner than those on the other sides. Ideally, Starship should ascend without tilting to one side, but experience has shown this to be challenging. The erosion observed at the top of the launch table raises the question whether SpaceX might revisit the idea of actively cooling the deck. While there are measures in place, like the flame deflector and the FireX system, there's currently no proactive mechanism specifically for the table itself. Months ago, Elon Musk floated the idea of implementing a water jacket connecting the top of the launch table to a water supply. This would minimize the need for refurbishment of the launch mount. However, this idea was eventually scrapped, but it could resurface as a potential way for rapid reusability in the future. More recently, Musk shared some photos taken beneath the launch mount. He reported that the water deflector worked so well that the steel plates required no repairs for the upcoming third launch. We thought this was gonna work. Despite this, the mount itself does need some attention. Just a day after the launch, scaffolding was erected on the launch deck, indicating ongoing work. Our on-site photographer, John, observed markings on the mount's legs that showed that some cracks had developed during the launch. I hope these are minor issues that can be easily fixed. By the way, I'm like obsessed with John's photos. They're spectacular. Give him a follow. Aerial views possible thanks to Redline helicopter tours reveal that the tank farm sustained more damage than initially believed. While the external shells may have dents, we hope that the GSE tank's internal structures remain unaffected. Who would have thought that placing tall structures near the world's most powerful rocket may have not been the best idea? SpaceX seems to eventually realize this, as evidenced by their gradual shift towards horizontal tanks. For several months, they have been working on pedestals near the existing tank farm, possibly in preparation for this transition. While we're not currently aware of any new tanks heading to Starbase, it's likely that this will change soon. The horizontal tanks are expected to offer better protection and, due to their lower height, should be less sensitive to the shock waves generated during liftoff. Hey you want to book a cool ride to Starbase and see these things from the sky in person, or just enjoy one of the coolest views in the world? Go to redlineheli.com/Felix. Multiple members of our team have been flying with them, and we can't recommend them enough. There's one more reason as to why Orbital Tank Farm might be about to expand. Just a day before the second Starship launch, we saw a surprising delivery to the build site. Believe it or not, it was the first set of parts for the second orbital launch integration tower. The components that arrived seem to be the top level of the tower, housing the mechanism and steel cables for the Mechazilla. These new parts likely originate from the Roberts Road facility in Florida and are from the backup tower SpaceX constructed there. Their arrival at Starbase suggests that SpaceX might be progressing with the necessary paperwork to secure approval from the Army Corps of Engineers. We might even see the foundations of the second tower being laid out this year. If this new tower uses all the parts from the Florida backup, it's expected to have a shorter Mechazilla arms, indicating it might not be designed for catching prototypes. However, building a launch tower is a complex and time-consuming process, primarily due to the need to outfit the launch tower with numerous connections, sensors, and other electronics that must work in perfect harmony. That's why the launch deck alone at Launch Complex 39A has been under construction for over a year. Should SpaceX decide to build a new tower at Starbase, they might accelerate the process by transporting the launch table from LC-39A to Boca Chica. Oh, wow, can't wait to see two orbital starships ready to launch at the same time. And speaking of the next orbital pair, who's next? In the statements after the second flight, SpaceX confirmed that the next orbital pair is almost ready for flight. Elon Musk even said that they could be launch ready as early as December. All of this hints that the next Starship will consist of Booster 10 and Ship 28. Booster 10, the Super Heavy first stage, is currently stationed at the first Megabay. Having been stacked in October of 2022, this prototype has already progressed significantly in its test campaign. In September, it underwent a series of cryogenic tests at Massey's before being moved to the Megabay for engine installation. This process is likely near completion, so it's plausible we might see Booster 10 on the launch table within the next couple of weeks. We expect that the rest of the test campaign will be even more streamlined than previous ones. SpaceX is likely to bypass tests with fewer engines and proceed directly to a 33-engine spin prime, followed by a static fire involving all 33 engines. Ship 28, the Starship's upper stage, is also nearing completion. For several weeks, it has been receiving final touches at the engine installation stand in the rocket garden. It's equipped with all 6 engines and is being upgraded with an enhanced purge system, which demonstrated its effectiveness in the most recent launch. Ship 28's heat shield is also expected to perform better than Ship 25's, which lost several tiles during liftoff. Workers have meticulously checked each tile on Ship 28 to ensure they are securely attached, which was skipped with Ship 25. It's likely that Ship 28 will be moved to suborbital Pad B soon, setting the stage for the next phase of testing. Another launch this year seems optimistic at best, giving the typical delays and unanticipated issues. The first quarter of 2024, however, appears to be a realistic time frame for the next flight, considering the current state of the launch complex. But what are your predictions on the third flight? Share your thoughts in the comments below. At Starbase, the focus isn't solely on Booster 10 and Ship 28. There's a hive of activities surrounding other prototypes as well. November 21st saw an intriguing shuffle at the high bay. Initially, Ship 30 was moved out, which was somewhat anticipated. However, it was then followed by Ship 31, which unexpectedly made its way to the rocket garden. There, it swapped places with Ship 29, which was then moved to the high bay. I know this may sound a little bit confusing, but let's just sum it up. The high bay is now housing Ship 29, Ship 30, and Ship 32. The return of Ship 29 in the high bay is likely for engine installation, with Ship 28 currently occupying the engine installation stand and SpaceX keen to finish both prototypes. The shift makes logical sense. And while normally you could just go to the rocket garden to see the recently moved Ship 31, now you can't.
Not a chance.
Or at least not by doing it the usual way. SpaceX recently acquired Remedios Avenue and installed private property signs, effectively closing off public access. This development is somewhat disheartening, as Remedios Avenue offered one of the closest views of the prototypes. Nevertheless, given the increasing tourist traffic and more instances of trespassing, the decision is understandable. Everyone visiting Starbase should respect the property and adhere to the established boundaries. Trespassing or littering only increases the likelihood of SpaceX restricting access even further. There is a way to get near if you really want to, just by going around the Sanchez site, but that depends on how wet the terrain is. For those of you planning a visit, we really recommend watching Everyday Astronaut's detailed video on the do's and don'ts of Starbase, bearing in mind that Remedios Avenue is now off limits. Responsible behavior will help ensure that Starbase remains a fascinating and accessible destination for us, space enthusiasts. Even with the new restrictions at Starbase, we're still able to provide you with stunning aerial shots of the rocket garden, so not all viewing opportunities are lost. Over at the Sanchez site, the once mysterious black rings have become a little less enigmatic, although their revealed purpose might not be as thrilling as some of you had hoped. Initially, there was speculation that these rings would serve as booster test stands, potentially for use at Massey's or near the suborbital test site. The idea was that SpaceX might use them for activities like spin primes, leaving the orbital launch mount for static fires and launches. However, a recent observation has completely negated this theory. One of the stands was completed and then moved out to the two self-propelled modular transporters and moved to the build site. The presence of a special mounting mechanism for the transporters likely debunks the test stand theory. It now appears that these black rings are simply upgraded transport stands. But TJ, why would they need new transport stands? The old ones work just fine. Great question, TJ. These not only can likely support more weight, but thanks to the 20 arms, will accelerate the process of booster transportation, as currently the clamps have to be manually closed to hold the prototype. This is further supported by the components of a third stand already being prepared. It would be highly unlikely for SpaceX to find space for 3 additional test pads, so unfortunately, it's probably just a stand. This serves as a reminder that sometimes our speculations and imagination can lead us to overestimate the excitement of certain developments. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you believe these are merely upgraded transport stands, or could there be another twist to the story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Now, before we move on to our next story, Felix is going to tell you about today's sponsor.
Are you ready for a modern approach to a classic design? When I learned that the AL-13 was a safety razor, I must admit I had my doubts because of my previous poor experience with razors. Shaving with drugstore razors can lead to lots of shaving irritations and even razor burn. And I learned this often stems from the razor's inadequate blade support, as the blade frequently bends and flexes. But the Henson AL-13 securely holds a single blade at a precise angle, minimizing irritation, ingrown hairs, and razor burn. It was meticulously crafted by aerospace engineers from the Mars rover and ISS projects, so I can tell that this is a high-quality razor. If you value quality shaving and being environmentally responsible, this razor would be a smart investment. Crafted from aluminum with a plastic-free design and packaging, it reduces CO2 emissions and landfill impact. Plus, it is durable and affordable. The AL-13 offers replacement blades at a fraction of what generic brands blades cost. And the impact it had on my skin is undeniable. It makes my skin feel incredibly smooth and refreshed. If you're in search of a legit quality razor and a superior shaving experience, I wholeheartedly recommend the AL-13. Thanks to Henson Shaving for sponsoring this video and for providing you, my viewers, 100 free blade refills if you use the code FELIX at hensonshaving.com/whataboutit or click the link in my description.
maybe I need some tightening up. Here's a little task for you before we get to the key questions of this launch. YouTube might have unsubscribed you without knowing, and we're not kidding. Double check the subscribe button so that you don't miss our updates. And while checking, hit the like button and consider becoming a Y supporter for exclusive SpaceX updates. With it, you get access to daily Starbase photo galleries, now including orbital, aerial, and ground photos of SpaceX's progress, and countless other extras on top. Everyone gets the same supporter content. You decide what you want to give. Oh, and check out our new website as well. Launch previews, road closures, the latest weather report, and our multi-stream viewer, whataboutit.space. The link to our Patreon page and the new website is in the description. And a huge thanks to all our current supporters who help fulfill our dreams for the team. We cannot thank you enough. You guys are awesome. In this episode filled with Starship developments, let's add one more SpaceX-related piece of news. Astrorab recently revealed some intriguing details regarding their lunar mission. The centerpiece of this mission is the Flex rover, poised to be one of the most advanced and capable rovers to touch down on the lunar surface. Flex will come equipped with a robotic arm, and its main task is to deploy 2 flower pods. Flowers on the moon. This experiment aims to study the effects of the lunar environment on plant life. What makes this mission particularly exciting, however, is how it will get there. The rover is set to travel on board a lunar starship, with the landing planned for mid-2026. This gives us an idea of when we can expect SpaceX to provide commercial moon launches. But the Flex rover's mission extends beyond just planting flowers. It will also carry experiments from 4 additional companies. Argo plans to explore the feasibility of extracting water from lunar regolith. Astroport's objective is to convert lunar regolith into bricks, potentially for constructing roads on the moon. Avalon Space will delve into research on lunar economics. And finally, LifeShip Inc. wants to establish a DNA seed bank and data archive on the lunar surface. Yeah, nobody's getting there. This mission represents a fascinating blend of botanical, geological, economic, and biological research, all helping us to colonize the moon. Can you just imagine how epic a Starship lunar landing will be? And lastly, in an unexpected turn of events, NASA has provided an estimated launch date for the New Glenn. Bradley Smith, the director of NASA's Launch Service Program, recently announced that New Glenn is scheduled to carry NASA's Escapade satellites around this time next year. The Escapade mission, developed on Rocket Lab's Photon platform, aims to study Mars's unique magnetosphere using 2 spacecraft in orbit around the red planet. It's very cool. By gathering data from these 2 different perspectives, scientists hope to gain insights into how solar winds are stripping away Mars's atmosphere. It's surprising to see NASA place such confidence in Blue Origin, a company yet to achieve orbital flight. Typically, inaugural rocket launches are extremely risky, often failing mere seconds after liftoff. This revelation also provides some much-needed clarity on New Glenn's launch schedule. There had been speculation with some hoping for a surprise rollout at launch as early as this year. However, it's now evident that the earliest we can expect New Glenn's debut is in Q4 of 2024, and as with most rockets, this could be subject to further delays. Despite this, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for New Glenn's success. After all, if the design works out, it'll be one of the few rockets that can actually compete with Starship, and that's good for everyone. That's it from today. Remember to smash that like button, subscribe for more awesome content. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite nerd space store. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again in the next episode. And if you want to train your space IQ even further, watch this next video to continue your journey. Bye. With it in a simple that was wrong. Gosh, why are my feet hurting? Primarily due to the we're gonna get this. Why am I doing that? Water from lunar, right?